We are discussing chapter number 7, control and coordination, the questions which have come in board examination. Control and coordination question and answers. Why it is advised to use iodized salt in our diet? So iodine is very important for our body. It stimulates the thyroid gland in order to produce the thyroxine hormone. So deficiency of this hormone will result in the enlargement of thyroid gland, and which can lead to a disease or a symptom, the after effect, which is called as goiter. So that is why the salt generally we take, and government also advise us to take the iodized salt. State how concentration of auxin stimulates the cells to grow longer on the side of the shoot which is away from light. Now when light falls on the side of the shoot, auxin diffuses towards the shady side of the shoot. So this concentration of auxin, it's a hormone, stimulates the cell to grow longer on the side of the shoot which is away from light. So thus the plant appears to bend towards the light. What is synapse or synapse? In a neuron cell, how is an electrical impulse created, and what is the role of synapse in this context? So a synapse is the gap between two neurons. If these are two neurons, the gap between them is a synapse. So here the axon terminal of one neuron is in close proximity to the dendrite of the second neuron. So when nerve impulse reaches the knob-like nerve ending of an axon, a tiny amount of chemical substance is released which is known as synapse. Now this chemical substance is called the neurotransmitter. So at synapse, the electrical signals, they convert into chemicals that can easily cross over the gap and pass on to the next neuron, where it again converts into electrical signals, and this is how in propagative way the information exchange or takes place. What is meant by reflex action? What is reflex action? With the help of label diagram, trace the sequence of events which occur when we touch a hot object. So what happens? This is what is going on. A hand is there and it is touching something which is hot. So stimulus, first of all, let us know what is reflex action. Stimulus, in this example, the stimulus is the contact with the hot pot as the person is touching the hot pot. Now this contact causes a nerve impulse that will travel to the spinal cord via the sensory neurons. So what are these sensory neurons? As we see that they sense something. So neurons which are sensing, they are sensory neurons. So these neurons carry the nerve impulse to the spinal cord on the back of our body. Similar to the interneuron and motor neuron, sensory neuron receive incoming impulses at the dendrites. Now the impulses move away from the cell body along the axon to the synaptic terminal, where the impulse is sent to the next interneuron with the help of neurotransmitter, that is acetylcholine. So this acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter. So there is interneurons as well. The interneuron is also known as relay neuron. These neurons are fully contained in the central nervous system. So this interneuron serves as the connection between the sensory neuron and the motor neurons. Then synapse is a very tiny space between the neurons. So when an impulse gets to the end of one neuron and has to be sent down to the next neuron, the synapse acts as a bridge between them. So the signal arrives at one of the neuron which is close to the synapse as an electrical signal. It crosses the synapse as a chemical signal with the help of neurotransmitter known as this acetylcholine, released by the synaptic vesicles at the synaptic terminal. And it continues as an electrical signal into the next neuron. So this is what is happening. Hand is there. This is the receptor. So heat or pain receptor. So receptors are in our skin. Now this is the effector, which is the muscle in our arm, and this is our sensory neuron, which is this is sensory neuron, and inside we have the motor neuron. This is the motor neuron, and this goes to the spinal cord, which is this part of the central nervous system, and then it sends the message to the brain, and we have a relay neuron here. Then the motor neurons does what? This motor neuron, now these neurons send nerve impulses away from the central nervous system to effector organs or muscle fiber in this example. So this causes the muscle fiber to contract, resulting in you snatching away your hand from the hot pot. So what is this is the whole reflex arc. This is whole reflex arc. Now response is, to respond to a stimulus of the reflex arc, the muscle need to contract to pull the hand quickly away from the hot pot. And for this to take place, the impulse travels to the synaptic terminal of the motor neuron, and synaptic vesicles at the synaptic terminal will then release acetylcholine, which will cross the synapse and bind the receptors on the muscle fibers to trigger the muscle contraction, which is known as the response to anything, which is the reflex action. Give an example of plant hormone that promotes its growth where it is synthesized. So plant hormone that promotes growth is auxin, and it is synthesized at the tip of this plant stem. Name the hormone that are released in human males and females when they reach puberty. So testes is male, or the testes in male, they produce hormone which is testosterone, and ovaries in female, they produce hormone called as estrogen. Name a gland associated with brain. So pituitary gland is present in the brain. Which problem is caused due to the deficiency of hormone released by this gland? So pituitary gland present in the brain is responsible for body growth, development of bones and muscles, right? So it can, if the excess is there, it will lead to gigantism. If it is less, it will be dwarfism. Draw the diagram of human brain and label on it the following parts: midbrain and pituitary gland. So this is a diagram of human brain. This is the midbrain, and here we have the pituitary gland. Write one example each of following tropic movements. Positive phototropism. So positive phototropism means the shoots growing towards the light. Negative phototropism, roots growing away from the light towards the ground. Positive geotropism, this positive geotropism, growth of root towards earth due to the pull of the earth. Negative geotropism, shoots growing away from the earth. Hydrotropism, roots growing towards the source of water. And chemotropism, growth of pollen tubes towards the ovules. Name the hormone which is released into the blood when its sugar level rises. Explain the need of chemical communication in multicellular organism, the organ which produces this hormone, and its effect on the blood sugar level. And also mention the digestive enzymes secreted by this organ with one function of each. So glucose is needed by cell for respiration. It is a very important, or it becomes important, that the concentration of glucose in the blood is maintained at a constant level. So insulin is that hormone that is produced by a cell that regulates glucose levels in the blood. So in order for the multicellular organism to perform properly, their cell must talk or communicate. For instance, your muscle must contract when your brain sends a message to contract. Pancreas produces this insulin, and these P cells, which include glucose, or which increase the glucose in blood. So it also produces digestive enzyme, pancreatic amylase. Next is explain the need of chemical communication in multicellular organism. So cell to cell signaling is a critical component of coordinating cellular activities. And through this talk, communication, or sending and receiving messages are carried from signaling cell to the receiving cells, also known as the target cells. So this signaling occurs with protein and other types of signaling molecules and other things which happens in our body due to cell communication. These are growth and development, cellular reproduction, tissue repair, and sensing pain. There are so many. State the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Draw its neat label diagram and write two functions. So this is the structural and functional unit of nervous system, which is neuron. So in the neuron, we have, these are the thread-like, or you can say spine-like dendrites. Inside we have a nucleus. Now here is the cell body. This whole is the cell body. Then we have this axon hillock, and then we have this myelin sheath. This is known in this inside orange one is the Schwann cell, and this is the node of Ranvier, and finally this is the axon terminal. So the function of neuron are like this. First is passing information. The passing information takes place by electric impulse, which is inside the neuron, and in form of chemicals at synapse. And the reflex action is spontaneous, involuntary, and automatic response to a stimulus to protect us from the harmful situation. For example, on touching a hot object unknowingly, we instantly withdraw our hand. So this is the reflex action. State the function of gustatory receptor, olfactory receptors. So gustatory receptors, they are sensitive to the taste, and olfactory receptors, these are sensitive to smell. Explain why three directional movements in plant. So stimuli is responsible for the movement of plant parts towards or away from it, and this movement is called as tropic movement. For example, phototropism. This movement of plant towards or away from the light, phototropism. Geotropism, movement of plant parts towards or away from the earth. Hydrotropism, movement of plant parts toward or away from the source of water. So these are three type of you can say three directional movement in plant. How brain and spinal cords are protected in human. Both the human and spinal cords, these are protected by bone. The brain by the bone of the skull, and the spinal cord is protected by a set of thin ring-shaped bones called the vertebrae. This vertebrae. So they are both cushioned by layers of membrane called the meninges, as well as special fluid called the cerebrospinal fluid. And this fluid helps to protect the nerve tissue to keep it healthy and remove waste products. Name the master gland present in the brain. So pituitary gland is present in the brain. This is known as the master gland. List in tabular form three differences between the nervous control and chemical control. So nervous control and chemical control, which is the endocrine system, you can say. So nervous system, these are form of, you can say, neuron cells. The correct collection of neuron cell forms a nervous system, while endocrine system is set of glands. So set of glands, they form endocrine system. The electrochemical pulses are the mean of signal transmission here. Chemicals are, or you can say chemicals like hormones are the means of signal transmission here. Signal transmission is quite fast, but the functions are not prolonged. And in endocrine system, signal transmission is low, but the function is long lasting. In nervous system, the cells are interconnected and the whole system is continuous. While endocrine system, the organs of the whole system are not physically connected, yet those are discrete. The nervous system use the neurons to transmit the signal, while endocrine system use the circulatory system to transmit the signal. Name the part of the brain which control posture and balance of the body. This is cerebellum. Cerebellum is the uh, part, or you can say is the part of the brain which controls the posture and balance of the body. Cerebellum. Name the part of the body where gustatory and olfactory receptors are located. So they are located, first of all, they are located in the brain. So gustatory receptors are located in cerebrum of forebrain. Olfactory receptors are located in olfactory lobe or forebrain. So it is located at cerebrum, gustatory, olfactory at olfactory lobe in forebrain. Smitha's father has been advised by doctor to reduce his sugar intake. Now name the disease he is suffering from and name the hormone whose deficiency is. So Smitha's father is suffering from diabetes. Deficiency of insulin, it causes diabetes. That is, the increase of sugar level in the blood is diabetes. Identify the gland that secretes it and mention the function of this hormone. Pancreas, it secretes insulin, and this insulin helps in regulating blood sugar. Explain how the time and amount of secretion of this hormone is regulated in human system. So when the sugar level in the blood increases, it is detected by the cells of the pancreas which respond by producing more insulin. As the blood sugar level falls, insulin secretion will be reduced. This is how it is regulated in the human system. State the functions of plant hormones. Name 4 different types of plant hormones. So plant hormones, they help in to coordinate growth, development and responses in environment. So 4 different types of plant hormones are there: auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, ethylene and abscisic acid. So auxin control the tropic, or you can say growth related movement of the plant in response to light, gravity, touch, etc. by increasing the size of the cell. So under the influence of this auxin, the plant stem bends toward unidirectional light, whereas the root bends away from it. Gibberellins stimulate stem elongation and leaf expansion. So its application causes stem elongation in small plant like the cabbage. Spraying gibberellins on a sugarcane plant increases the stem size and hence the crop yield. Cytokinins are produced in region of the plant body where rapid cell division occur, such as root tip, developing shoot buds, young fruits and seeds. So cytokinins, they promote growth by stimulating cell division. They also help in production of new leaves and chloroplast in leaves. Ethylene cause ripening of the fruit. Abscisic acid, what it does, it inhibits, that is slow down the growth of different part of the plant body. It also inhibits the germination of seeds. It increases the tolerance of plant to different kinds of stresses like the temperature changes. So it is also called the stress hormone in plants. So it also causes the drying and falling of older leaves, flowers and fruits. How is brain protected from injury and shock? Brain is covered by 3-layered membrane called the meninges. In between the layers of meninges and brain, cavity fluid, which is named as CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, is filled. So the hard skull covers the meninges. Thus the meninges, CSF and the skull protects our brain for a certain extent. Name 2 parts of hindbrain and state the function of each. So 2 main parts of hindbrains are medulla and cerebellum. The functions are medulla, the involuntary action like the blood pressure, salivation and vomiting. This is because of the medulla. Cerebellum, the cerebellum it is responsible for precision of voluntary actions and maintaining the posture and balance of the body. Draw the structure of neuron and label cell body and axon. So this is the name the part of neuron where information is acquired, through which information travels as an electrical impulse. So we have already seen and discussed this, so I'll directly go to this nerve cell, neuron. The answer of this is, name the part of neuron where information is acquired is dendrite, and through which, this dendrite here, and through which the information travels as an electrical impulse, and which is the axon. Which plant hormone is present in greater concentration in the area of rapid cell division? So cytokinin is present in greater concentration in the areas of rapid cell division in the case of plant. Give an example of plant growth promoter and plant growth inhibitor. So an example of plant growth promoter is gibberellins. Example of this plant growth inhibitor, promoter is gibberellins, inhibitor is abscisic acid. So this is the first part of the question answer we are discussing. We'll be taking one more. Till then, thank you so much. Take care of yourself.